Everybody, Questwise here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Riff's Worldbook 36, Sovietski, another Palladium Books product, brand new, hot off the presses, just a few months ago, if that. I don't know if I can say enough about this book. It's amazingly well written. It's a beautiful new addition to the Riff's universe line. We've got a lot of stuff to go through. Let's get on it. First off, Worldbook 36. It's going to fit in the same line with Warlords of Russia and Mystic Russia as well. Those books can all be used with this. I don't know what to say about this book. I have so much to say and can't seem to form the words about this book. First off, Russia, one of the coolest settings, possible campaign settings for a Rifts campaign. The Rifts world is so big. There's so many different places, and it's very important to sort of focus. When you're going to do a Rifts campaign or a Rifts one-shot, you need to focus in order to make the game work. You need to take everything that's given to us in the entire Rifts line and sort of hyper-focus in on what it is exactly that you want to do in a game. Because if not, it's going to spiral out of control, and it just won't be fun for anybody. So first, the thing you need to do is sort of focus in on what part of the world it is you want to focus on that, during that campaign or during that one-shot kind of a game. There are many options. There's Atlantis, there's North America, there's England, there's Australia, and now with this addition to the Warlords of Russia and Mystic Russia, we have Sovietski, which makes the Soviet region, the Russian region, much more inviting to play in. And we'll get into that a little bit later. I'll talk about some of the cool aspects of creating and running a campaign in the Sovietski or in Russia in general. First of all, it has 224 pages, and that is packed. That's to the max. 224 from inside the opening cover to the very last page. Everything being used for something. Very well done. Has the very standard Palladium Books production quality, which is always really awesome. It is paperback, but bound in such a way that, and I've talked to the guys at Palladium about this before, but I love the way that they, oops, my notebook's falling. I love the way that they produce their books because of the way that they lay so perfectly in your hand when open. And I was told that was actually a design decision to make on their part as well too. So very cool. Very great cover art here. Again, this whole thing, and I'll get into that more later. I just too much crazy stuff to talk about this book. It's awesome. Let's see, what else do we have here? It's written by Brandon Ayton, who I had a pleasure of meeting at the Palladium Books open house. Fantastic guy, an amazing writer, amazing game designer. Very excited that I got the chance to meet him, and he's able to work on a product that's blowing my mind right now. Matthew Orr, I also got a chance to meet him at Palladium Open House. Great fellow. Also with some input by Kevin Sambedia, who of course runs Palladium Books. Great stuff. There's a great intro in here from Brandon, who had no idea was of Russian descent and ancestry. So this looks like it was quite a labor of love for him to sort of be able to project into the Rifts game and into Rifts future what he believes Russia would be like in the Sovietski type of a setting. And I'll go into in a minute how Sovietski differs from Warlords of Russia as well too. So this book also has a huge section on history leading up to the Rifts apocalypse, and then everything that sort of has a timeline of what's happened afterwards as well too, up to the present day of which the game is set. One of the coolest things about this book, about Sovietski, it determines that this group of people separate from the warlords of Russia, who are now sort of like these larger-than-life figures parading around that Eastern Europe section of the world, in Siberia, doing everything from saving people to destroying people to whatever. The Sovietski were actually, they had actually built a bunker underground. And when the apocalypse had hit, they hunkered down and stayed in that bunker and lived in that bunker for decades, because the long winter had hit in Russia, where the entire area of what had been Russia was just completely buried under apocalyptic snow and ice and horrible, horrible things. So the Sovietski stayed there, and once the long winter had finally subsided, they re-emerged. And I think that part where the end of the long winter happens would make an amazing beginning to a campaign. You've got enough information in this book and in the core rulebook of Rifts that you can make characters that are just now emerging decades after the Rifts apocalypse into a world that's already fully blown out, that's already been fully decimated, and it's sort of that first step. And then you've got enough information in here on making characters. There are tons and tons of OCCs and RCCs in here, in which I'll get to those in a few minutes as well too, that you could run an entire campaign of just leaving the bunker for the first time and exploring the world as it is. The Sovietski and the Soviet region has been under attack by the Broadkill demons. They've been under the claw of the Gargoyle Empire, the warlords of Russia, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of great stuff I think would make a fantastic campaign, starting from the moment that they open the bunker and sort of re-emerge into the Rifts world, after decades of living in this bunker amongst themselves, and having really no knowledge of the old world or the new world. So really, I think it would be a cool campaign setting. What else up? Interior art in this thing, again, phenomenal. Lately, every book that's been coming out from Palladium has been phenomenal as far as the art and layout goes. We've got art by Wayne Barreau, of course, a longtime veteran of Palladium Books artwork. Ramon Perez, again, amazing artist. Chuck Walton, my all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite artists. Chuck Walton, great interior art. And a new guy, I believe this is probably his first product that he's worked on for Palladium, Stephen Cummings, who I've had the honor to actually befriend as of late. He's doing some great stuff. He lives in Japan, and he's got some. He's working on some projects that I'm going to review here in the future, very shortly. Some graphic novels and comics that he's working on. But he's got some of his artwork in here now as well too. Great stuff. Stephen's stuff is really amazing and really captures a sort of fine line between traditional American art and Japanese sort of anime. And there's a nice, beautiful sort of blending of that kind of thing. So great, again, great layout, great interior art as well. So, what's all in this book? I've already talked about a little bit about the history and stuff, and my gushing about the art and the layout and the writers. Here's what you can expect. A full history, a full background, and a full life, what it is to live in Soviet Russia, or the Sovietski region of this setting. Something else that's in here that's really unique, and I don't know if I've ever really seen it to this extent before in a Palladium product, but there's an entire section on religions in the area, and different things that can oppose your players' characters, or they can be a part of as well too. So I found that very interesting. I thought that was a really interesting addition to the book. It was a whole section on religions in the region and stuff, and it had sort of sprung up after post Rifts apocalypse. I think we see some of that a little bit. I mean, there's the Gods and Monsters book, of course, but I've never really seen it tied to an official product before, or, like into an actual setting before, and I think that's really cool. It was a cool addition. Whoever, Matthew or Brandon, whoever tagged it in there, kudos on that. I think that's a really cool addition. There's a bunker creation section, which is epic. It kind of reminds me of the in Ninjas and Super Spies. There's the Ninjas and Super Spies and the Rifts Mercenaries. There's a section on creating your own sort of like organizations, and this one feels very much like that, but with building your own sort of bunker, military bunker, or hideaway bunker, sort of a fallout shelter kind of thing, with great, very expansive rules and a great, lots of charts to roll on randomly, or ideas to pull from, all of that as well too. So great bunker creation rules in there as well. Cool section on dead zones, which is basically like the fallout areas where humans can't live. That's not to say that weird other creatures might not live there, but they're not really great for human inhabitation. So cool section on dead zones and what their effects can be, whether they be radiation and or other stuff as well. A whole new bunch of DBs and RCCs and OCCs, which is always really nice. You can kind of come to expect that from Palladium products every time they put out a new book. Great new stuff, new ways to play the game. Some cool DBs in here, some really cool new RCCs. My favorite of so far out of this whole book is the Wolverine people. Cool mutant kind of esque people who are adapted to sort of living in that sort of frozen tundra. A nice blend of animalistic, instincts and behavior with a sort of humanistic intelligence kind of thing. Great trackers, great fighters, great survivalists. Very, very cool RCC. You want to check that one out as well. The Sovietski army has a complete section in there as well on their doctrine, their training, their technology. One of the cool things I think would be a cool, fun, maybe mini campaign would be to play the Sovietski tank crew. It's a tanker OCC that you can draw from, and it gives you different options as far as like tank commander, driver, gunner. It would be kind of cool to do a short mini campaign where all the player characters were part of a tank crew fighting, kicking demon asses and that kind of stuff. But I think that would be kind of fun. Although the one that really, really sparked me the most was the Spetsnaz Intel OCC. Bunch of different options underneath this. Everything from intelligence officers to spies to assassins. Tons of stuff available in this OCC. Lots of different MOSs that you can choose from. Awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. I think there's a wealth of opportunity of great player characters in there, as well as the campaign ideas. Tons of options. That's another great selling point of this book. And Cybernetics. Finally, we come to Cybernetics. The Russians, and this is pervasive through the entire book, that the all of the Russians, all of the Sovietski, very highly dependent upon and you love the usage of cybernetics in all things. Almost every character in here has some sort of cybernetic implant, or if they're not a partial cyborg, or if they're not a full conversion Borg, of multitude of different qualities, from being a light sort of scouting Borg to this massive, like, I think they call it the Thunder Wave, Thunder Fist, sort of siege cyborg. So you'll see a lot of that stuff pervasive in this book. So if you like cybernetics, it's in there. It's a great, great thing. So that's about it for Sovietski. I don't know how much more I can gush on about this book, but it is great. It is very, very well done book. If you haven't picked it up already, swing on over to Palladium Books website and pick up a copy for yourself. Or if you prefer, and as I always try to push, hit your friendly local game store if you can. And if you don't have a friendly local game store like I do, find one that supports you and stuff as well too. So I'm Questwise, and until next time, hey, we're out.